Jerry Corley here, standupcomedyclinic.com, with another episode of Ask the Joke Doctor. This is a very special episode. This is focused on people who are doing presentations, pitches, entrepreneurial work, corporate stuff, and how to add humor to those events. So if you're in that space, keep listening, but this still will have value for you if you are a comedian. I got a comment on my YouTube from someone who said, "Hey, Joke Doctor, I'm an entrepreneur, and I often speak in front of pretty large gatherings. Ooh. Do you have any tips on how to get laughs? There are other presenters who get laughs, and people seem to want to engage with them more after their presentations, which equals more sales. And how do you do it if the subject matter is serious? I don't get it." Oh, so the first thing to remember is material audience performer, MAP. So whenever you're doing comedy at an entrepreneurial event, material audience performer is the material has to be suitable for the audience, has to be suitable for the performer. So doing just a random joke, if it doesn't match you, your persona, it's not going to really be as valuable. Secondly, you have to remember that when you're doing a presentation, the expectation for humor is low. The bar is lower for what gets a laugh because the humor is just not expected. So you don't have to come up with jokes or be a stand-up comedian in order to get a laugh or a chuckle. And the idea is while their mouths are open for laughter, you can insert some food for thought. You know, laughter increases their ability to like you. Whenever somebody's laughing, they can't dislike you. It produces the love hormone, which makes them feel an affinity towards you. They want to be near you. They want to connect with you. And also, laughter drops any objection. I don't know if you know this, but the hormones released when we laugh are very similar to the hormones that are released if you fall in love or if you shoot heroin, but that's a different story. Right? So the first thing to remember when putting together your presentation, it's not about the jokes. The information is king. You're giving them a different way of looking at things that can transform their business in some way. That's the key, right? That's the most important thing. So the humor should come out of that and not just some random humor. If you just do a joke, a standalone joke, it's going to be like, wiping your unshaven face with Kleenex. It's not going to feel good and it's going to really look bad, right? So don't just do a joke. Let's have the joke come out of the material. I'm going to show you not only verbal tools you could use to get a laugh, but I'm going to show you a visual tool. And then this one tip is worth its weight in gold. Those of you who are entrepreneurs know that they're looking for authority, trust, and social proof as 3 of the, quote, sales triggers, right? So out of 12 sales triggers, right? The 3 of the big ones. When you use this particular gag, the sight gag I'm going to show you at the end, it's going to subconsciously make them want to connect with you and make them feel like you have a connection. You were endorsed by the host of the event. This is Dr. Brené Brown. She's a sociologist. She speaks all over the place. She's very well known for talking about vulnerability and authenticity, which is a big thing in connecting with people. If they don't feel you are authentic, they're not going to want to connect to you. They feel like somewhere in there, I don't trust this guy. If you do give them vulnerability and authenticity, they feel they can 100% trust you. So trust, authority, social proof. So let's take a topic that isn't funny and add humor. So one of the techniques is double entendre or wordplay. You take a word that's in the sentence and either you find the double meaning there or you take the sounds like and apply it and make the quip on the idea that the word sounds like another word. So Brené Brown does a thing on vulnerability. So she says, "I wanted to thoroughly study this topic of vulnerability. I knew I had to find out as much as I could. I wanted to hack into this topic." I love that phraseology because the word hack, now most of us think of that in terms of internet security. So now you could do a pivot to something that is dissimilar to the subject matter. And theoretically, in comedy, the more disparate the connection you make to the main subject matter, the funnier it is. So taking this thing, talking about vulnerability and authenticity and connecting it to hack internet security and yet still having a connection between those two ideas enhances the humor because the farther it is away, the funnier it is. This is comedy theory. And you know this now. So now you can think about this moving on in your own speeches. So what if she said, "I knew I had to find out as much as I could. I wanted to hack into this topic like a foreign agent during an American election." All right, maybe that creates too much tension for the audience. So maybe you can do it a different way. "So I wanted to pounce on this topic like a bunch of 3-year-olds left alone in a kitchen with a birthday cake." That has a nice visual element to it. And kids, innocent, pouncing on this birthday cake is funny, but still the pounce is talking about vulnerability and authenticity, but then we pivot to this birthday cake. Seems to be an unrelated idea, and yet it ties in those two ideas very well. It's called analogy and incongruity. At a comedy club, I might even take that analogy even further or be edgier. So the difference might be, if I was doing it at a comedy club, I'd say I pounced on that like a jackal on a 2-day-old gazelle corpse. That edgy, right? It creates a little visceral image of a corpse of a gazelle. So that might be too much for the audience in a corporate environment, but in a club, they're looking for that edginess. I would stick probably with the analogy of, I really need to study this vulnerability and authenticity. I really wanted to get into it. I needed to hack into it. So I pounced on it like a bunch of 3-year-olds left alone in the kitchen with the birthday cake. That's a funny element. It's going to get a tickle from that audience. And now you can move on. While the mouths are open for laughter, insert some food for thought. The other thing that's your friend when you're doing presentations is the release of tension. Release is a laughter trigger, the 9 psychological laughter triggers. If you can release tension, and it doesn't even require a punchline. This is what I love about it. You just acknowledge a moment. So when they get tense, especially if you're presenting something that gives them fear or anxiety, you can now change that, release that fear and anxiety like that. And you can even build in fear and anxiety so you can then press that release button. And it's almost like on automatic, right? So in this case, Brene Brown, during her TED Talk, she does a slideshow where she says, we are the most in-debt, obese, addicted, and medicated adult cohort in U.S. history. That's a powerful statement. It also creates discomfort, fear, and anxiety in an audience. So let me be clear. This is the job of a storyteller to create that tension. But also as a storyteller, we have to understand that when you have tension, an audience needs resolution. They crave release. It's almost mathematical. It's like a major scale. If you sing a major scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, that releases at the end with the tonic, right? But if you went do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, good night, everyone. The audience, I guarantee you, will sit there for a second and go, and then they'll release the tension themselves, maybe under their breath. They'll be like, no, thanks, I needed that. They actually need to release that tension. In storytelling, the tension release is your best friend. Here are the 2 tension release strategies. Remember, the first one's using words. The second one is going to use a visual gag, and it also is worth its weight in gold, so stay to the end. The first step is once you build that tension, simply comment on the state of the audience's emotion. Acknowledge it. Like let's go back and build that tension up, right? So we are the most in debt, obese, addicted, and medicated adult cohort in U.S. history. Tense. All you have to do at this moment is raise your hand and go, can you feel the tension there? With a smile. That will release tension. You're acknowledging the emotion. So what you've done is you've changed the pattern, going from build, 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 and then just pivoted to an emotion and acknowledged it. Very simple thing to do. And you don't have to use those exact words. Do you feel the tension in the room? You could say something else. You could say something just like, wow, you got quiet fast. Do you feel how quiet it is? You got quiet fast. It's as if the stage manager pressed the collective audience mute button. And they go, oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, thank God for saying that, because I was feeling a little uncomfortable. Just acknowledge. It doesn't even have to be funny. You're not thinking funny. You're thinking honest, vulnerable, authentic. You just release their tension. The other thing a speaker can do is to use the visuals that they're providing, right? You have the slideshow. So you can either set this up at the beginning or just acknowledge it as the flow is going. So if we can jump back and look at some of the visuals, you can say like, you guys remember this image? How many looked at that and thought, does that martini have 3 olives or 4? That little moment here with this little optical illusion that's happening, distorting the image, they'll make a quick laugh. Let's go back to the credit card slide, because here we can have some real fun. What if you superimposed or photoshopped the name of the host of the event you were speaking at? Say his name is Chris Henry, and you put it on the credit card, and it might say Christopher F. Henry or whatever. So you can actually say, I don't know if you guys noticed this, the name on the credit card. Yep, I used Chris Henry's credit card to book my flight out here. And by the way, after this presentation, the drinks are on me. And then reference back to the the credit card. The drinks are on me. And that gag does a couple of things. One, it makes the audience laugh because what a coincidence, you have Chris Henry's credit card right there. Number two, they assume you now have an affinity, or Chris Henry has an affinity to you. You are that close that he would give you his credit card, even though they know it's a gag. Remember, the brain can't live in imagination and realism at the same time. So it absorbs this as true at a subconscious level. Now they believe that Chris Henry has, in fact, endorsed you. Social proof. So that particular gag, that ability to use this visual gag in your existing slideshow that helped them provided information to make your content visceral, is now providing you an opportunity to get a big laugh and increase your trust, confidence, and social proof all in one little moment. Worth its weight in gold, that or whatever the limit of that credit card is. These are some of the tools you can use. But remember, all you need is a quick laugh to release the tension, because really what your presentation is about is the information and the solution you provide. I hope this brought you value. I'll see you guys in the next video.